Alrighty, folks, we went 4-3 in our premium plays on my premium page yesterday on Friday, July 4th, 4th of July. Cashed in on the Padres, Brewers, Blue Jays, and the Tigers. And the only way you could have cashed in on all those winning tickets is to be a Gold Club member on my premium page. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to my free pick video here today for Saturday, July 5th, 2025. Happy Saturday to you. Hopefully you had a great 4th yesterday and a great start to this Independence Day weekend. If you're joining me for the first time here today, my name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on YouTube since 2016. Folks, we're also 5-1 in our last 6 crowd pleaser teasers on my premium page. 67% in our last 27 plays in that same membership. I also have plenty of free content on my premium page as well, including my current overall win-loss record. You can access that right now in the post section. Don't have to pay anything to look at my overall win-loss record. And with that, we're going to jump into some free content. Going to start off with the Rays at the Twins. 2:10 Eastern first pitch. Tampa Bay is minus 130. Totals 9.5. Taj Bradley for Tampa Bay. Travis Adams making his season debut for Minnesota. Now, Adams was 3-2 at AAA St. Paul this season. WHIP of 1.22. Having said that, though, the Twins as a team, well, they dropped 4 out of their last 6. They looked pretty dismal at the plate during that span. They actually shut out twice during that stretch. Averaged under 2.1 runs a game during that span. And out of their last 10 gatherings with Tampa Bay, the Twins have really struggled with Tampa pitching. They averaged only 3.2 runs a game during that span. As far as this year's concerned, the Twins are a bottom 10 hit producing team. They're facing a Tampa pitching staff who's been tough to hit against, especially on the road. They're limiting opposing batters to under 7.6 hits a game in their travels. And starting pitcher Taj Bradley's punched out 79 batters and currently has a 1.30 whip. And even if Bradley blows chunks here today, he is backed by a top 3 hit-producing lineup. John Aranda bats .316. Junior Caminero, 21 homers, 54 ribbies. I like the Rays, minus 130. Cards, Cubs, 220 East. Chicago's $1.35. Totals 10.5. Drew Pomeranz for the Cubs. Matt Liberatore for St. Louis. And despite some pretty good stuff out of Libby, he does come into today's contest with 6 losses on the year. He does not have a winning record. And these Cardinals pitchers as a whole, well, they've certainly had their issues. They're striking out fewer batters per game than any other staff besides one. And no real surprise, they are in the bottom 10 in hits allowed. We could see more of the same here today going up against the Cubs. Chicago is a top 3 run-scoring team. Seiya Suzuki's 74 ribbies. That's tied for best in the majors. Kyle Tucker with 55 RBI and an OPS of 920. And because of that run support, starting pitcher Drew Pomeranz comes into today's contest with just 1 recorded loss on the year. 7 out of the Cubs' last 10 meetings with St. Louis got over the total. If you're into historical trends, plenty of overs to go around. They actually averaged 9.7 hits per game during that stretch. I like the Cubs, minus 135, over 10.5. Angels, Blue Jays, 307 East. Toronto's $1.85, totals 9. Max Scherzer for the Jays. Jack Kokonowitz for Los Angeles. Nakoci's just 3-8 with an ERA of 5.44. And as a staff, these Angel pitchers have certainly had control issues. They're walking more batters per game than any other team. And no real surprise, they are allowing a handful of runs per game in their travels. But if you think it's just pitching woes with the Angels, well, They've also got a lineup who has struggled making contact with the baseball. They're fanning just about double-digit times a game at the plate, averaging only 7.6 hits per 9. They're facing a Toronto pitching staff who is in the top 5 in strikeouts per game on the mound. Starting pitcher Max Scherzer comes into today's start with a whip of just 1.15. But even if Scherzer struggles, Toronto's had little problem scoring runs at home. They strike out fewer times a game than any other team, top 3 in runs per game in their own building. George Springer with 15 homers, 51 RBI. Alejandro Kirk, that's 304. I like the Blue Jays minus 1.5. Red Sox, Nationals, 405 East. Washington's $1.20, totals 9.5. Mitchell Parker for the Nats, Walker Buehler for Boston. Now, Buehler's got a handful of wins on the year. Boston typically does a nice job at the dish. They're nearly in the top 5 in runs, winning record against National League opponents. And they're facing a Washington team who's just 18-26 at home, struggling a bit on the mound. These Washington pitchers allow over 5.2 runs per game. The starting pitcher Mitchell Parker is just 5-8 with an ERA of 4.63. Now, total-wise, the Nats' last 4 straight at home got over the total, 8-2 to the over in their last 10 at any location. Boston games went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I like the Red Sox plus $1, over 9.5. All right, next game, Reds, Phillies, 405 East. Philadelphia's $1.80, totals 8.5. Ranger Suarez for the Titans, Nick Lodolo for Cincinnati. Now, Lodolo's got an ERA in the 3s, 1.15 whip. Of course, as a staff, the Reds are holding opposing batters to just 7.7 hits a game. And at the plate, they do have a handful of guys who can get on base. This is a top 10 run scoring lineup. Elly De La Cruz, 18 homers, 60 RBI. TJ Friedl, on-base percentage in the high 300s. They're going to face a Phillies team who lost 6 out of their last 10. They have not pitched great at the bank. They're in the bottom 10 in hits allowed at home. And no real surprise, they're also in the bottom 10 in runs allowed per game on their own diamond. Give me the Reds plus 1.5. Orioles, Braves, 4:10 Eastern start. Atlanta's minus 135, totals 9.5. Aaron Bummer for the Braves. Dean Kremer for Baltimore. Kremer's got 7 wins on the year, whip of 1.29. As a team, the O's have seen unders in nearly 70% of their road trips. Now, oddly enough, the Braves have seen unders in nearly 70% of their contests at Truist Park, averaging double-digit strikeouts a game in front of their own crowd. And starting pitcher Aaron Bummer, well, he comes into today's matchup with an ERA in the 2s, whip of 1.18. I like the under 9.5. Royals, D-backs, 4:10 Eastern start. Arizona's $1.35, totals 8. Ryan Nelson for the D-backs. Michael Wacha for Kansas City. Now, the Royals with overs in 3 out of their last 5 on the road, averaging 9.8 hits a game in their last 10 meetings with the D-backs. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. Now, Arizona saw overs in 7 out of their last 8 at home. Top 5 run scoring team. I like the over 8 runs. Brewers, Marlins, 4:10 Eastern start. Milwaukee's minus 135, totals 8.5. Chad Patrick for Milwaukee. Cal Quantrill for Miami. Quantrill's just 3-7 with an ERA in the 5s. And as a staff, the Marlins are allowing 5.1 runs a game on the mound. They still have a losing record at Lone Depot Park. And they're facing a Brewers team who's been pounding the baseball on the road. They're averaging nearly 5.6 runs a game in their travels. Christian Yelich, 17 homers, 61 RBI. Bryce Terang with an on-base percentage in the 350s. But even if the Brewers do struggle at the plate, they've got a good one in starting pitcher Chad Patrick, 93 strikeouts, ERA of 3.51. I like the Brewers minus 135. Yankees Mets 4:10 Eastern start. The Yankees are minus 145. Totals 8.5. Carlos Rodon for the Yankees. Frankie Montas for the Mets. Now, the Mets with overs in 5 out of their last 7 at home. 8-2 to the over in their last 10 at any location. Of course, the Mets don't strike out a bunch at the dish. They're in the top 10 in walks per game. Juan Soto with an on-base percentage of .399, 21 homers on the year. And Pete Alonso with 68 ribbies, OPS of .909. Of course, the Yankees on the other side of things, well, they have one of the most dangerous lineups in the league, averaging nearly 5.2 runs a game. Aaron Judge, 32 homers, first in the league in batting average and OPS. Trent Grisham, 16 homers, on-base percentage of .352. 5 out of the Bombers' last 7 road games got over the total. I like the over 8.5. Tigers Guardians, 7:15 East. Detroit's $1.35, totals 9. Casey Mize for the Tigers, Logan Allen for Cleveland. Allen's just 5-6 with a 1.49 whip. And as a staff, the Guardians are having a tough time getting outs. They're in the bottom 10 in hits allowed per contest. And they're facing a Detroit squad who has little problems getting on the scoreboard. They're averaging 5.3 runs a game on the road. Riley Green, 21 homers, 69 RBI. Gleyber Torres, on-base percentage in the high 300s. And because of that run support, starting pitcher Casey Mize comes into Saturday's start with an 8-2 record on the year. Now, 3 out of the Tigers' last 4 road games got over the total. As a matter of fact, the Tigers have seen overs in 64% of their contests away from Comerica Park. I like the Tigers minus 135, over 9. Astros Dodgers, 7:15 East. The Dodgers are minus 135, totals 9. Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers, Framber Valdez for Houston. Valdez is 9-4 with an ERA in the 2s. The lefty's punched out 108 batters and currently has a 1.13 whip. When it comes to the total, 6 out of the Astros' last 10 outings did stay under the total. Meanwhile, Dodger games went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Shohei Ohtani has a 2.25 ERA through a couple of appearances. I like the under 9. White Sox Rockies 9:10 East. Colorado's $1.20, totals 11. German Marquez for the Rockies, John Cannon for Chicago. For some reason, as bad as these Chicago hitters have been, they have done a nice job with Colorado pitching in recent gatherings. They averaged 9.3 hits a game in their last 10 meetings with Colorado, and they're going to face a Rockies team who has not done well at the dish. Colorado's averaging under 3.6 runs a game, striking out more times per contest than any other lineup. When it comes to the total, 5 out of the Rockies' last 7 at Coors Field stayed under the number. 7-3 to the under in their last 10 at any location. Meanwhile, the White Sox, their last 4 straight on the road fell under the total themselves. 8-2 to the under in their last 10 at any location. I like the White Sox plus $1, under 11. Rangers Padres 9:40 Eastern start. San Diego's minus 135, totals 9. Stephen Kolek for the Padres, Patrick Corbin for Texas. Corbin's just 4-7 on the year, not getting an incredible amount of run support. The Rangers have a bottom 5 hit producing lineup. Really struggled against Padres pitching lately. They've been held to just 2.2 runs a game in their last 10 gatherings with San Diego. And as far as this season's concerned, well, the Padres have been tough to hit against at Petco Park. They're allowing just 3.3 runs a game at home, 9.9 strikeouts per game in their own stadium. And starting pitcher Stephen Kolek comes into today's contest with an ERA in the 3s. Now, 3 out of the Padres' last 4 home games fell under the total, 7-3 to the under in their last 10 at any location. I like the Padres minus 135, under 9. Giants Athletics 10:05 East. San Francisco's $1.90. Totals 9.5. Logan Webb for the Giants. Luis Severino for the A's. Now Severino's just 2-9 on the year. A's are struggling to make contact at the plate. The A's are in the bottom 10 in strikeouts per game at home. And they're facing a San Francisco pitching staff who has definitely been difficult to hit against in their travels. Giants allow only 7.3 hits per 9. And starting pitcher Logan Webb's been a big contributor to that. 127 strikeouts, 2.61 ERA. When it comes to the total, the Giants have seen 65% of their interleague games stay under the number. 7-3 to the under in their last 10 meetings with the Athletics. I like the Giants minus 1.5, under 9.5 runs. Next and final breakdown for the video. Pirates Mariners 10:10 Eastern start. Seattle's $1.80, totals 8. Luis Castillo for the M's. Mike Burrows for Pittsburgh. Now Burrows is averaging a strikeout an inning, whip of 1.30. These Pittsburgh pitchers have been tough to hit against on the road. They're allowing just 7.2 hits per 9 in their travels, and they're facing a Seattle lineup who struggles to get base runners in their own building. Bottom 5 in hits per game at home, striking out a whole bunch on their own field. Now, 3 out of the M's last 5 home games did fall under the number. Pirates with unders in 64% of their contests away from PNC Park. I like the Pirates plus 1.5, under 8. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. I like the Rays minus 130, Cubs minus 135, over 10.5. We're 5-1 in our last 6 crowd pleaser teasers, 67% in our last 27 plays in that same category. Blue Jays minus 1.5, Red Sox plus $1, over 9.5 runs. Reds plus 1.5, getting the job done at Philly. I like the under 9.5, Baltimore, Atlanta, over 8, KC, Arizona. Give me the Brewers minus 135, getting the job done in Miami. I like the over 8.5, Yankees, Mets. Tigers minus 135, over 9. Give me the under 9, Houston, Los Angeles Dodgers. White Sox plus $1, under 11. San Diego minus 135, under 9. San Francisco minus 1.5, under 9.5. Give me the Pirates plus 1.5, under 8. Now with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And just a friendly reminder, if you do end up getting a membership here today on my premium page, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame. But most importantly, folks, got to thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, folks, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.